Stubbornness is not persistence. This was a great tweet that I saw by a guy by the name of Chris Hadlazuk. I'm probably butchering that name, all right? But this was a tweet I saw recently, and it really rang true for my mindset around this, that stubbornness is not persistent. He says a stubborn person ignores overwhelming evidence and fears being wrong, right? Huge red flags on something like that. Persistent person is convinced they are right and proof is just around the corner. So how do you differentiate it? So I've been thinking about this, right? Because we're all persistent, or we want to be persistent. I love to hire persistent people. I love grit. That's a value that I try to teach my kids. It's a value that I interview for around here. But when does it cross the line? When does persistence become stubbornness? And I think he sums it up of saying when you ignore overwhelming evidence in fear of being wrong. So let's break that down. Overwhelming evidence. And so at Service Express, we talk about progress over perfection. We talk about releasing new systems, new processes, right? New strategies that we're going to do and fixing them as we go. And when we go forward, we talk about, look, we're going to release this. We're going to do this strategy, fix what's broken. If you can't fix it, change it. If you can't change it, then you got to trash it, right? And so I think that's part of it right there. If you get to the point where you're trying to fix it, you're trying to fix it, and the overwhelming evidence is telling you it can't be fixed, then you need to dump it. You need to scratch it and move on to a different strategy, okay? Why don't people do that? Fear of failure, fear of being wrong, right? Our egos get in the way, right? Happened to me too. It can happen to anybody. Nobody likes to be wrong. We talk about failing forward a lot, making mistakes and learning from it. And that's all true and that's all great and it's something I believe in deeply and I've kind of built my whole career on being wrong and then fixing it, right? But that all sounds good in hindsight. When you're in the middle of it, when you're in the heat of the battle, nobody likes to be wrong. Nobody likes to admit they made a wrong decision. They made a bad choice, okay? So that fear of being wrong or looking bad in front of others. When in fact, what really makes you look bad is if you stick with that wrong decision. If you ignore overwhelming evidence and stick with that wrong decision, that's what's going to make you look bad. And as a leader, that's when people are going to stop following you. They will give you, in my experience, so much grace along the way if you admit mistakes, you change it, you fix it, you move forward from it, they'll follow you anywhere because they know you're not going to get stuck in there if the overwhelming evidence tells you you're wrong, okay? But when you get that stubbornness in there, that's where they're going to bail on you. And so think about where you're at, different strategies you're working on, where you're at in your life, whether it's business, this applies to personal, right? And by the way, I've been called stubborn, so I've been in this trap, right? Look for those key things. Am I ignoring overwhelming evidence? Am I afraid of admitting I was wrong and changing course here? I think if you look at those two things, they will give you the right answer to tell you whether to be persistent, stick with it, the proof's right around the corner, or to bail on it and move forward. Fail forward, fail often, build your career on it.